the score feels really strong. It just feels like it's got real structure and integrity in terms of it. I'm talking about architecturally,
Right.
that it holds together. I mean, we've obviously the chorus knows their stuff. The soloists have all been rehearsing in the rehearsal room, and we had 6 hours of reading for the orchestra on Monday and 6 hours on Tuesday, so got to really hear the score and the internal workings of the score. Everything just feels very, very strong. Up until we put it out there to the singers and the chorus. It's in our heads entirely, you know, and I hear it a certain way. Gene hears it a certain. Gene Shear, the librettist, hears it a certain way. It's all sort of abstract and based on speculation, you know, as to what's worked in the past and what will work in the future. Getting it off the page means you have to give it to the people who are going to be able to sing it live and on the stage and learn all those notes and internalize those things and be those characters. So getting it to breathe means every single person that's involved in that, and that includes everyone on stage, including cast, chorus, supers, backstage people, as well as the full orchestra, and everyone else who's involved, getting them into what I would call the vibration of the piece, the feel of it, the flow of it, so that we are all breathing together with the pulse of the piece, and that works. That's what I mean by getting it to breathe. Because theater is a living, breathing thing. It only exists really when it's being performed. That's the amazing thing about opera. A recording of an opera is not an opera. The experience is a live one. And so getting all those people on the same page, and then getting the opera to come off the page so that it feels like a real experience to the audience, that's what that's all about. And that is, it can be a very harrowing experience, but it's been really an amazing adventure every single day. I tell people when they ask how's it going, it's thrilling every single day, because the piece feels strong and it feels like it's working, and everyone involved with it loves it. The cast all love their roles, the chorus loves their music. In the orchestra readings, I mean, orchestras of any kind, when they do a lot of this kind of work, can be a little suspect and a little reserved, and the orchestra has been over the top effusive and expressive about how much they're enjoying doing the piece, and it challenges them, but they're making beautiful music and they're achieving that goal very quickly. So it's a really exciting time. I'm really sort of a guide to make sure everyone has a sense of the tempo that I have in mind and how it feels and what textures I was going for. Because that's something that, I mean, you do your best as a composer to write everything that you possibly can in the score, but ultimately a score is just a roadmap. It's basically saying, this is the feeling that I had in mind, but because I'm not a performer and can't do all of this myself, I'm going to give you a roadmap of what I think it's like. So it's as detailed as possible, but still subtleties of tempo, where it moves, where it slows down, where there's a total pause, where there's just a hint of a pause. Things like that that dramatically serve a purpose, because everything serves a dramatic purpose. All of that is something that I can convey to the conductor, to the director, to all the people who are performing. You know, if there's a sudden shift in dynamic, I can tell them what I had in mind emotionally for the reason of that shift in dynamic. Whether I thought suddenly they had second thoughts about something, this character, and it's reflected in that shift in dynamic. Those are all subtle things that I can actually tell them about. But that said, my job at this point is to get that across clearly enough so that day by day I step back and become less essential to the process, to the point where the piece has legs of its own. It's like a child. You just help it along, and then eventually it walks out the door, and you just have to trust and hope that it's going to be okay. But there is a point when you're not essential to the existence of the piece, and that is coming. And it's very gratifying to feel that I don't have to have sleepless nights and worry so much and feel like I have to be there to hold people's hands every step of the way. The Dallas Opera has been amazing. Jonathan Pell was the one who championed this early on, 5 years ago when we first started talking about it. And he has made sure at every turn that we have the highest level available. It not only applies to the casting and the crew and the creative team, but it also applies to having time to work on it in the theater, time to work with the orchestra, time to work with the soloists and the chorus, so that we can, because none of this can happen quickly. It takes time. The idea that you can throw an opera together in a couple of weeks, you know, even a tried and true opera, it's not only risky, it can be dangerous, because sets and theater can be very, very dangerous if people aren't familiar. People can get hurt very badly. So to have the time to routine this and internalize it, and that's been a tremendous gift from the Dallas Opera as well. And like I said earlier, with opera or theater, it only exists when it's alive and being performed, really, you know, which makes it very special, and it makes it an event. You know, every performance of an opera or theater is an event, because you have to be there, and if you don't show up, you miss it, and it's done. So